You ready, Rob? Yep. Call to order the City Council regular meeting for the City of Wyoming, Minnesota, May 2nd, 2023. Let the record reflect we do have a quorum. Member Luger, Member Onstad, Member Schilling, Member Yeager, and Mayor Iverson are present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have some people that are going to speak. Alex, there's somebody just running, grab the, here, I can get it. You got it? Yep. Yep. No, we need, sorry.
Oh, sheets.
We are on our agenda on open forum. Open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on items that are on or may not be on the current agenda. Items requiring council action may be deferred to staff or boards and commissions for research and future council agendas if appropriate. You will be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask that you conduct yourself in a professional, courteous manner and refrain from the use of profanity. Failure to abide by this policy may result in the loss of your privilege to speak. And I know we have one that has signed up right now. Janine, do you want to come up? Did we test the microphone? Okay. And Janine, just state your name and address.
I'm Janine Sachs. I live on Kettle River. And I've been having some problems with the property next to me. So I'm hiring some help. And Fred gave me some papers, but it didn't show what I was interested in. And it seems that Mr. Mosnick has changed his plans from what he originally planned, and now he's going to leave the end closest to my place till after the other, and his north end is gone. That doesn't stop the problem I'm having, and I found a solution for that. I'm gonna put up snow fencing.
Okay.
I talked to the guys from the service too. And so when I get my helpers and the ground dries out, a few other problems, then we'll put the fencing up. But that doesn't solve everything. I had some other questions. Because he's changed all his housing plans, they put that turning lane in my ditch with all the nice pretty black plastic and all that crap. There's houses right to that corner. What did they need that for? And he's buried all the markers so I can find out where the thing is. But when I was talking to Fred before, he said the guys can find it. And I'm having help, so they'll find it. There were some other questions I wanted to know. Can we have animals? I've got 7.5 acres there. Am I allowed to have animals? I don't know for sure what right now that I would. Orville wanted to have chickens again. I said, no, I did enough chickens. I'm not doing any more chickens. Besides, there's foxes come through there. And once that the swamp behind me fills up, the animals would be back, the wild animals. Yeah. But I was just going to question that because I have a fenced garden that we could put them in, but I don't know. I don't know how much longer I'll be living there, but I have 2 boys who'll be fighting for that pole barn.
Yeah.
So, and with all dad's tools in there. And the other thing was, is there going to be a playground for those kids? He's marked the 2 streets that come up to my house as the kids' corner. Mm-hmm. Is he going to turn them loose with no place to go? Those garages are going to open right into each other. Are the kids going to be playing in the street with those garages opening? That doesn't sound like a very satisfactory arrangement to me, but then I may still have to put up more security things, I don't know. But I've got my no trespassing now, and I'll be bringing the snow fencing as far as I need it. I don't need it on the garden end, on the east end, but on the side by the road, with all that snow we had this year, my windbreak, my evergreen windbreak was gone. I couldn't figure out why I had so much snow. I was snowbound for 11 days out of 14. That's just about enough when you're used to going every day as you want to. And it was deep, over my knees. I
Yeah.
backed the car off and I wanted to go, when it couldn't rock it or anything.
Yeah.
And had to wait till Ryan came at 8 o'clock at night to dig me out, so, if it happens again,
Let's hope it doesn't.
I may find somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
But Ryan doesn't want anybody messing with his dad's tools, so.
Yeah.
But those are some of the problems that I'm facing, and Fred's gonna get that paper for me that I want.
Okay.
He said that the guys that are do the measuring, they'll know it, and I
Okay.
have someone else, I hired legal help, so I'll
Okay.
be able to take care of it.
Mr. Weck's not here. Okay, so we appreciate you coming up and talking about this, and so maybe Mr. Linwood and Mr. Weck can answer some of these questions. You can call her.
Sure, we can talk about the animals. We have different ordinances for your, based on your
Policy about it now.
zoning, there's different things in regards to what types of animals and how
I
many you
know
can
it
have.
won't be chickens.
Okay. Noted, but yeah,
What we raised up there in the farm, I won't either.
Yeah.
My dad raised beef scale, they're 3,000 pounds on the hoof, and we little kids had to stand, the dad said, now don't move, you'll scare them. Are you kidding?
Well, Ginny, we always appreciate you,
Yeah.
so we'll have either
been-
Mr. Linwood or Mr. Weck give you a
It's been a
call.
long winter. with that
Yes.
snow, And
Yeah,
and then I've got the other houses that have problems too, so.
yeah, yes, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Great, and then we also have Mr. Spangler, did you want to speak?
Yes.
Please state your name and address.
Bruce Spangler, 5983 258th Street. I just wanted, it's maybe a little different offbeat of what you're normally hearing right now this time of year, but I wanted to give some feedback on the pothole patching that we had done last year. It was a new process, if I understand, and it was, they had special equipment, and it was, I just wanted to let you know that the potholes we have now are on the outside of that. That stuff that you put down that was supposed to help with the delamination, that stuff's still there. It's new potholes. So that stuff really works. So if we're doing that again, I fully support that, because that seems to be the best part of the road right now.
I think you made all of our days, right?
Oh,
This
okay.
was- So, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, we appreciate that. Do you want to say something, Mr. Kenny?
I don't think that it's necessarily a different material, the process, you know, I'm relatively new, but when I understand the process that they used last year is they overlaid some material into those potholes, as initial fill and an overlay. It's a newer bituminous material, not really a new kind, but it maintains a little bit more flexibility when it's newer and has all the oils in it. It's not uncommon to fill potholes and see them start to unravel on the outside. We've got quite a bit of work to do, to get caught up. We've talking about some of that later on, so anyhow.
Yeah, well, the stuff that was put down last year is still there, so that's.
Yeah, I saw some of that in there, and then over off of West Comfort, there was quite a bit of that. I know it was, they did quite a bit of last year.
I know we appreciate the positive feedback, though, so thank you. All right, is there anyone else who wishes to speak? There are two other names on this list. Is there anybody else? Come on up. Mike, and just state your name and address.
Mike Prosser, 5802 East Viking Boulevard. This might be a question that maybe Mark can answer out of this setting. We've been waiting for, with the East Viking project, they were gonna purchase our outlot and probably get rid of the big oak tree that everybody has a problem with down our road. And that plan had changed at some point, and now they're not gonna purchase the outlot. The last response that we had from Faye was they're gonna go around the oak tree.
Okay.
So, and we've been waiting like 2 weeks for, she was waiting for a legible plan. Updated drawing.
I can certainly follow up with you. I mean, I think we've had some discussions with you. I can't recall, I wasn't involved in the process, but I think maybe there was additional compensation maybe that was wanted, and we found a way, if you want to save the tree, we can save the tree and have the sidewalk come around it and not impact trees and not impact additional property and things. And so we found some ways to do that. And I can certainly share that with you if it hasn't yet. I can't maybe do it right here
Sure.
at this juncture, but if you're here, at the conclusion of the meeting, I'd be happy to show you, or I could certainly evening or
we
morning
can-
or
yeah.
anytime you're available, I can certainly do that.
We can, whatever's convenient for you.
Or
If you'd
virtual
like to
meeting, if
scoot
that works for
after
you
the
too, I can
meeting.
share on the computer, it might be just as easy to.
I'm remote, I work home all day long, so we're always there, that's an option.
Faye has your contact information?
She does.
She can share it with me tomorrow, then I can reach out to you tomorrow.
Sure, yeah, because we were negotiating a price for the outlot that they were gonna purchase and the price for the tree, and then we never heard like a counter to that. We countered that offer and then what they were gonna come back with, and then the last response was, that they're just gonna go around the tree. And I know that the road's gonna be narrower, you know, slightly narrower than what it is now, but I don't know if there would be enough room to, you know, take that sidewalk and jog around that big old,
Right.
yeah.
We'll share that with you. My understanding is you guys didn't necessarily want to have that tree removed. Is that true?
Well, we want the sidewalk to go through,
Yep.
but we're not gonna lose that tree for the price it was offered to us, cause it's substantially worth more than that on our property than, I mean, it was insulting, is what the offer was.
And that was based on a certified appraiser that
Yeah.
come up with that valuation
Right.
based on their experience. So that's where I come if, you know, we can certainly follow up and have more discussion on that. If we need to come back and you want the tree removed, we can come back to city council. We had initially intended on acquiring some property. We don't necessarily have to. And so I think with things where they're at, we wanted to show you that we can do that without, and if that's more appealing to you guys, we certainly be happy to do that. So
I guess our main question was, how are you gonna pull it off? You know, lay people picturing
show you a
what we
plan really
saw,
easily,
yeah,
yeah.
you know, and how they're gonna bump out enough to have clearances and ADA sidewalk and all that stuff
Right.
around that tree. So, I mean, even if it's just a simple
That probably is
updated
not the
font.
only location we're doing that as well, so
Okay.
we're doing that in another location as well.
Sure,
But I'd be happy to, because we've heard from some people, you know, they're 150-year-old oak trees,
Yeah.
and we, you know, if we can avoid removing them, we do that,
Yeah.
and so we're conscious of that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Wanna be flexible as we can, and so I'd be happy to contact you tomorrow.
Okay.
So, I think a virtual meeting would very be easiest, and
Yeah.
zoom in on a screen and show you probably easier than pointing at a plan.
yeah, absolutely, for sure. Like I said, we're just really interested in how the plan, how it's gonna work and what it's
Yeah.
gonna look like around the tree. And we're okay with the tree and it's staying, you know, so that's, and we just didn't have any problem. We knew that you wouldn't have the information.
I'd be happy to contact you right away tomorrow, or this evening, even later, if you'd like.
Either way, it's up to you, Mark, I know you're busy, so.
No, I can fit it in for sure, no
All right.
problem at all.
And I think this meeting will go relatively quickly,
Okay,
so whatever we like an audience.
well, thank you for the city council meeting for, time for our.
That's awesome.
conversation.
No, that's what we're here for. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Chris, did you want to speak today? Did you want to come up and speak? No? Okay. All right. Moving on to number 1 of the agenda, approval minutes. Consider approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for April 18th, 2023. There are no questions or comments. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Luger, and we have a second by Member Schilling.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 2, consider approving the minutes of the work session meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for April 24th, 2023. If there are no questions or comments, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 3 on our agenda, to consider resolution 230536, a resolution receiving bids and awarding a contract for the SAP 248-103-003 East Viking Boulevard Utility Improvement to Dressel Contracting for the base bid and alternate 2 in the amount of $1,997,479.16. Mr. Erickson, are you starting?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. We did receive bids back in April for the East Viking improvement project, and as you may recall, it does include a couple of different components. So one is the section of East Viking from Fenwick to Glen Oak, and we've had many meetings, and it's taken kind of years to get to this point, and so we're very pleased to bring forward the results of the bids. It does include also the bridge, and that's a subsequent resolution, if it's okay. I'd just like to cover
Yeah.
really the resolutions that will be before you related to this project, and then we can act on those resolutions. But the project does include the bridge also, it does, over, the Sunrise River, it does consist of a 16-foot wide by 6-foot high box culvert and an additional 6-foot by 6-foot by 6-foot box culvert. It includes bypassing the river temporarily during construction. We've worked very closely with Chisago City and Polaris and a number of residents that are really landlocked between Polaris and the river. So we feel we have a solution for all of those items. It also included the patching and overlay of a section of East Viking Boulevard east of the Polaris Gate to our border with Chisago City. And so that, you may recall, dodging all the potholes on our road tour is something that we simply don't have the resources and funds right now in place, one, to patch, and two, to pay for a more permanent solution there. And so we are recommending moving forward with both the patching as well as the overlay. And that amount is $150,000. It's over 4,000 feet, so I mean, it's a pretty good value for the amount of road that we're covering and the condition that it's in. It will not last forever, but it is something that will buy us definitely a significant amount of time compared to what we're dealing with 1 year at a time with the holes. I mean, we
Yeah.
spent the last 2 years pothole filling that just till we're blue in the face, right? And it looked like there was more patch on the road than the existing road. And so we know we just can't continue to do that as well, given the other needs of the community. And so staff is recommending awarding the overall contract, True Dressel Contracting, who we've had great success working in a number of projects over decades of time, as they are capable and do fine work for us. And so we're recommending moving forward with both the base bid, the alternate bid that included the bridge, and the alternate bid that included the patching and the overlay on that section of East Viking East of Polaris Gate. And so there are really 3 different resolutions that we're looking for approval on this evening. And one is awarding the base bid and alternate two in the amount of $479.16. That again is for the East Viking project as well as the overlay east of Polaris. And then we're also recommending the resolution 2305-37 to Dressel Contracting again for the bridge in the amount of $788,232.64. A great portion of that is funded through our bridge bonding. You may recall, I think we had roughly $260,000 in bridge bonding back a couple of years ago when the application had gone in. Material prices, box culverts have gone through the roof lately, and so they have picked up those additional costs. We have nearly $500,000 in funding from the state, so we're very pleased with that amount. The other amount is for work that's not eligible. That includes retaining or the guardrails and approaches and things of that nature that aren't bridge related, but the guardrail out there is in very poor condition as well. And then lastly, we're looking to approve resolution 2305-38, and that is again related to the local bridge replacement program grant conditions for that bridge. So I'll stand for any questions that you may have.
Okay, so council, let's just ask the questions of all 3 that you may have. So we're gonna start with Member Yeager.
Okay, for the alternate bid 2, over the east side of the east of Polaris, are we going to assess the property owners for that overlay?
We are not proposing to. There are some discussions that will be had moving forward with related to Polaris and potential contribution from Polaris for that amount. We have not included the property owners on the east side for any public improvement
Okay.
process, and so we can't necessarily go through that, but we can move forward with an assessment agreement with Polaris. That is something that we have an appointment with them to discuss a little bit further. We may look at change ordering in a small portion of Chisago as well, that might need some overlay as well. So we're kind of coordinating that with Chisago City and Polaris. There's no guarantees on anything, but we are having additional discussions with them to see if we can offset some of the city expense related to that.
Cool, and how long will this overlay last?
You know, there is no perfect answer for that because we don't know for sure, but we feel in that 5 to 7, maybe even 10-year range at most. That's kind of what we're feeling. The structure, the pavement there is actually
Okay, thank you.
All right, Member Schilling?
She hit my only question, so I have no questions.
Okay, Member Onstad?
Just curious how old, or when that road was last covered, replaced.
Do you recall, Rob? I think it was in the eighties, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I think they may have had some maintenance on that project with a chip seal at some point in the nineties, but it was pretty limited.
Yeah, very limited for a very long time. I think the county engineer looked at that, and I think the last time they had touched it, I think Mr. Erickson is right, 90s, they had some maintenance to it, but nominal at this point, so very long time.
Considering the amount of moisture underneath, I'm surprised it's looking as good as it does, which isn't saying much, but it seems to have lasted a long time, so I'm kind of optimistic that a new road would be a good thing for there.
Member Luger?
I have no questions.
Okay, and I have none either. So
So we just add one additional
Yeah.
thing, so we don't have a schedule from the contractor yet, we haven't awarded a contract, and so as soon as we do, I just know there's some residents here that are probably wondering, like, when will this project start? right?
Yeah.
And so we have, had some conversations preliminarily with them mid-May, so maybe maybe towards the later end of May, so they're not real sure yet, the last I've spoke with them, but once we award a contract, they're required to provide us a schedule, and so we'll schedule a pre-construction meeting, at which time we'll have a very detailed schedule that kind of lays out their approach for the project and where they expect to be at certain dates. And I know there's a lot of contractual language in there related to certain portions of improvements being done by certain dates to accommodate various requests that we've had within the corridor for whether it's the arts or other property owners. And so we've had those in the contract. And so we'll make sure to communicate very detailed schedules with all the property owners and what they can expect during construction.
okay, and are we doing another meeting once you have all that information? Are we emailing, mailing? How are we getting a hold of the
Yeah, so what
residents?
we typically do is we provide our initial communication via mailing. And it'll provide all that written documentation with contact information for inspectors, the contractor. It'll have all that information in there, and as well as what they can expect for mail delivery, garbage delivery, pet fences, all kinds of detail related to that. But schedule is another really important one.
Yeah.
So there's detours, right? There's how you access your property are all really important questions that we'll answer in that. And then we'll also include ways that we're gonna communicate. If they wanna receive, direct emails, we can have an email sign-up sheet rather than waiting for something to come via this, postal
Mail.
service. And then we also will have updates on the website. We'll have some things, with social media that, the city puts out regularly as well. And so we'll include all of that so that they are aware
Okay.
of where they can find information.
All right, great. Any questions to that? No? All right, so we'll move on to consider resolution 230536. We need a motion to approve the receiving bids and awarding a contract for East Viking Boulevard utility improvements to Dressel Contracting for the base bid and alternate 2 in the amount of $1,997,479.16. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Onstad. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 3, to consider to approve Resolution 230537, a resolution receiving bids and awarding contract for the SAP 248594002, bridge number 13J22, East Viking Boulevard, over the south branch of the Sunrise River to Dressel Contracting, Inc., for the amount bid for alternate 2 in the amount of $788,232.64. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Excuse me. Number 5, to consider resolution 230538, a resolution for agreement to State Transportation Fund Local Bridge Replacement Program Grant Term and Conditions. East Viking Boulevard over the south branch of the Sunrise River. We need a motion to approve. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A motion to approve by Member Luker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Moving on to our consent agenda, number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Does any member wish to pull any one of the items for consent? Seeing none, we'll move on to, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Schilling. We have a second by Member Luger. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Acknowledge receipts of reports of officers, boards, commissions, and department heads. Number 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Does anybody wish to pull a report? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Number 19, to consider Resolution 230543, a resolution receiving the feasibility report and setting the public hearing for the 23 Fallbrook Avenue and 264th Street Improvement Project. Mr. Erickson, is that you again?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. We actually started this feasibility quite a while ago. We've pulled together a lot of different information related to that with existing pavement conditions, existing pavement section, meaning the pavement thickness and the underlying material supporting the roadway. We've done televising to understand what the existing sanitary sewer condition is under the roadway. Unfortunately, we found some issues with that, and so we've also handled this a little bit differently than we have with our other public improvement projects, and we've met with business owners individually rather than try to have a neighborhood meeting like we typically see with residential areas. And so we've completed all of those items and are ready to bring forth a feasibility study and the results here for you to consider accepting and moving forward with the public hearing. So next slide, please. This is the project location from really Fallbrook Avenue and 264th Street as shown on the figure. It is all no residences, of course, it's all business. The roadway is in very poor condition. Next slide. As far as where we're at in this public improvement process, you can see we're at the May 2nd meeting, pretty early on. We would expect that this would be a fall construction project, so we're likely starting in August. Certainly enough time to complete a project like this. It is a relatively small, easy project. It is relatively costly, but it is something that does not involve a lot of storm sewer construction, a lot of staging, things of that nature. So it is something that we definitely can complete this calendar year, which I think is important considering the road condition and the patching that's been involved in previous years and this year. So again, if we are to move forward with accepting the feasibility study and setting that hearing this evening, we would likely have additional informational meetings with the business owners and then have that public hearing at June 6th, the city council meeting. You can see the remaining schedule there. Next slide. City council authorized this back in August, and so it has been in the works for some time. We've had a little bit of difficulty meeting with all the business owners, but again, that has been completed. Streets in the project area were constructed in the 80s and 90s, and there definitely is poor condition there to a point where we just simply can't look at an overlay here, especially considering the heavy traffic and the heavy vehicles that do utilize that roadway. And then there are some minor drainage issues that we wanted to address within that quarter. And again, they are relatively minor. There are curb and gutter on one portion of that project, and then there is ditches on the other portion. And that the ditch section is holding water in various locations. So we want to do some minor corrections there. We can just to try to improve that. It is functioning, but we'd like to clean that up if we can while we're here doing the work. Next slide. Again, existing conditions, certainly looks a lot worse when you're out there. It's hard to capture that in a photo, but you can see the distresses there and the issues that we're seeing there with that roadway. Next slide. So the proposed improvements, right? We want to make sure that we're building the strength of that roadway. So we are proposing, like we do with some of our projects, is reclaim the roadway. We're going to leave that material in place, and so we're going to grind up the asphalt with the underlying aggregate base and leave all that in place. So the road is going to come up about 5 inches from where it is today, and so we're going to really strengthen that roadway. We're also looking to add pavement above and beyond what we typically see. We typically see like a 4-inch bituminous surface. We're looking at probably a 5-inch bituminous surface here just because of the vehicles that are utilizing the roadway. We are proposing roadway to match pretty closely to what exists there today. There might be a couple of sections that we look just to widen, just to create a little bit more of a consistent pavement. There's a little bit of in and out. So there's some minor modifications that you'll see there. And section, south of 260th to Fairview Boulevard, we are looking at removing all of the concrete curb and gutter. We looked at that on our road tour, and every joint has failing concrete, and we just don't wanna make sure, we wanna make sure that we don't try to replace 25% of the curb, and then a few years have the 75% of it failing. So we wanna make sure that we address that now, since we are looking at more of a reconstruction type project. Next slide. Drainage improvements, again, are pretty minor. There's really not any storm sewer out there, so that's helpful with project costs. There are some culverts that we will be replacing, and then there's some of that ditch drainage that I said we wanted to improve. The sanitary sewer, we did review the televising tapes. It did identify, I think, 4 or 5 different locations where there's sags in the pipe, where there's 50% full of water all of the time, right? So we lose a lot of efficiency and capacity within that pipe, and certainly more prevalent to potential plugging and blockages that a public works staff may have to respond to in emergency situations. So there's about 4 or 5 of those locations that we are proposing to go down and replace with that. Those are non-accessible costs like all our other projects. We do look to improve those. So we do have funds for that set aside, not necessarily for this, but it is things that we do have in that sewer fund. And then, of course, we always look to improve the sanitary sewer structures there just to reduce the inflow and infiltration. We pay for treatment. We want to make sure we're treating sewage and not rainwater. So we do, it's a minor expense, but something that does help tremendously. Water main, just adjusting all the existing gate valves and structures that are in the pavement surface itself, but there aren't any wholesale additional hydrants or changes that we've seen sometimes in other projects. Working with Public Works, maybe not indicated any need for additional improvements to the water system. Next slide. Really, this shows the 2 different sections of roadway. You can see the bottom section is what we call urban section, has concrete curb and gutter. The boulevards are such that we can raise the roadway, but we're not gonna trap water behind the curb. The boulevards are relatively steep and flow into the road. We'll just have to add some topsoil to make sure that that is a smooth transition and continues to drain into the road section. The top is what we call the rural section. It has roadside ditches that convey the stormwater. Those will be maintained again, and the road will simply be raised about 5 inches, adding to the strength of the roadway itself. Next slide. As you all are aware, our assessment policy is 20% of the roadway improvements and drainage improvements are assessed. In this case, it is different than what we typically see with residential, as we look at it as a unit assessment. This is a little bit different. We're looking at an approach based on front footage, and that is more adequately spread based on the size of the parcels and the uses that are out there. It's something that we are recommending moving forward on a front footage basis. And the city would then pay the remaining 80% of those road drainage improvements, plus the sanitary sewer and minor water improvements. So again, you can see the parcels that are associated with assessments on this project. They primarily consist of Hallberg, Allsafe, and Rosenbauer. And the assessment amount that is assessable, again, that's based on the street and the drainage, is about $968,000. Spread over that front footage, we result in about $31.14 per front foot. And so those assessments are significantly larger than what we typically see with our residential assessments. Especially when we have, like Holbert owns a significant amount of the properties, and there's a lot of frontage that he has, and so there's definitely a fair amount. But we do have the assessments totaling, looks like, I need to put my glasses on, $194,000, and so that would be spread out amongst all of those properties. It's just what's identified in the preliminary assessment. Next slide. I know you're all aware, I don't see any of the business owners here in the audience, but the assessment does follow, the process does follow Chapter 429, the state statute. There are a number of meetings that we'll have, and we've shared a lot of this information with these business owners as well. They will receive the notice for the public hearing, but we'll certainly share more of that. A couple of things that I do want to mention. Interest rate, we'll determine that at the time. I think interest rates are fluctuating. We've had them typically fall in that 4 to 5% range. We'll verify what that is at this juncture. And then next slide. are relatively large. They're also not residences, they're businesses that may want to, we'll have some preliminary discussions with them, but they've typically fallen in that 10 to 15-year period. These being a little larger, we might want to consider 15 years, but we'll certainly gauge that with the property or business owners there. And again, this is just a slide kind of showing this public improvement process and where we're at. This is really some of the initial stages that we're at. And that next stage, if you're inclined to accept the feasibility study and set that public hearing, would be that next public hearing occurring at that June 6th city council meeting. So with that, I'll stand for any questions that you might have.
All right. I know you answered my question. I was wondering if we're building it based on the fire trucks and semi-trucks and all that kind of stuff that have gone there, because I don't think Rosenbauer was there when we built that road. Probably not.
Correct, yeah.
So,
they were not.
okay.
And they have some pretty heavy vehicles.
Yeah.
I think we were at a meeting, I think it was 83,000 pounds for, you know, a 3-axle vehicle. It's pretty tremendous, and so we have had some discussions about their operations and what
Yeah.
they can do to limit that, whether it's, you know, a low boy to move vehicles rather than driving on the public roads with some of the larger vehicles. And so we'll continue those conversations with them just to make sure that we do what we can to protect our investment.
Perfect. All right. Member Schilling?
No questions.
Member Yeager?
What is the estimated lifespan of this street after it's been fixed?
So it's a really good question. We expect that the roadway, and I'll back up a little bit, because there's always maintenance that will be involved, right? So we
Yeah.
don't just do it and wait, say, 20, 30 years for a lifespan of something, right? So we would expect that we'd have a minimum of 20-year lifespan, but there would be, you know, some improvements before then, right? Some preventative maintenance, some crack filling, and perhaps, I know that we've been using a product called Full Play, is it? I forget Replay.
Replay.
I think Joe and I have some other thoughts as well that we might want to implement a different product as well, and so we'll continue to do those. You know, typically if we get on it and we monitor these with our every 3 years, we kind of gauge and monitor pavement conditions. We can kind of gauge when we think we might need improvements, but, you know, likely at that 20-year mark, there might be an overlay, right, to try to extend that life out that we're beyond to 30 years, and so those are things that we want to do, so we're not looking at reconstruction to a reconstruction
Yeah.
to things like that.
Right, I understand that. I just wanted to know how long this road's gonna last before you want to reconstruct or reclaim it again.
Yeah, so we would probably not reconstruct it or reclaim it in the next 30 years. We may have some intermediate improvements like a mill and overlay, or things like that to extend the life of the pavement.
Okay, thank you.
Member Schilling, you had a question?
I just had a comment to make. I believe that this reconstruction of this road is gonna make a non-resident extremely happy that was
Yes.
voicing their opinions on that one. So that was it. I just clicked
Popped in
in
your
my
head
head,
there.
yeah.
Okay. All right, Member Onstead?
I know that we had talked about walkability in the city. I noticed that there's no sidewalk. Is that something that could be added or would be of interest? We wanted to have a corridor for people to walk, ride bike from the city center to the hospital in that area.
Yeah, and so I think being the commercial nature of this area and the infrastructure that is there, particularly the rural section, it's very difficult to build a trail in a rural section that has a ditch. And where would you put it, right? And so I think there are means, and I think it's a great question because I think that is something that's really important we've talked about quite a bit. But there are means, right, to get from city center and right down the Sunrise Prairie Trail to the trail facilities that lead to the hospital. And so that is a relatively high traffic, high truck volume roadway, and so it's not necessarily we want any on-road facilities for sure.
Mhm.
And to meet state standards, it would be difficult. The urban section would be pretty easy to add a trail to, or a sidewalk to, but it would be very difficult in that rural section.
Thank you.
All right, and Member Luger?
We have no questions.
All right, so we need a motion to approve Resolution 230543, a resolution receiving the feasibility report and setting the public hearing for the 2023 Fallbrook Avenue 264th Street Improvement Project. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So approved. Number 20, to consider a proclamation for National Public Works Week for May 21st through the 27th, 2023. I am so in favor of this. I am so glad we do this every year. It is the best thing. All right, so go ahead, Mr. Sacks.
Yep, thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. So yeah, every year the National Association of Public Works releases their National Public Works Week, and they always have a different theme. So this year it's connecting the world through public works, and I think it's important for us as an organization and a city to just acknowledge all the hard works that our public works do, from our roads to our infrastructure to our parks to our water, sewer. I mean, they do so much, and I think this year in particular, if we're just talking about our specific public works department, I think they have faced a lot in the last 6-7 months. We have acting public works superintendent Joe Kedding, and he's been doing an excellent job. Our guys have had to be out plowing probably more days than not, and now they're pothole patching, so I think it's just great to recognize them. So we're asking council to just proclaim that May 21st through 27th is the National Public Works Week. So with that, I'll take any questions.
So barbecue, we normally do a barbecue. Is that still on?
Yeah, I know, I don't think Mr. Kedding was here at this point last
It
year. Normally,
works.
yeah,
Okay.
normally that is the plan,
The
so I
norm.
think we'll coordinate that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure,
and,
sure.
and I know I'm making a big deal about this because Public Works worked so hard this winter and with everything. We have a sign, right? We have Chief Bauer, do you guys have that, the sign that announces stuff? I would love to see that we're announcing National Public Works Week somewhere in the city, that it's letting people know just what a great job that our Public Works does, and we don't have the biggest staff, and so they work really hard, and I've been in those plows and always amazed at what they do. So if council is fine with that, I would love to see some signage or something in our park where we normally put it. So that is my only question. I do know that many times there's residents that do bring treats for our Public Works, so that's always kind of fun for them too. So, all right, that's my only comment question. Member Onstad, anything?
Nothing yet.
Okay. Member Luker?
No questions.
Member Yeager?
No questions.
Member Schilling?
No questions.
All right, so I make the motion to approve the National Public Work Weeks for May 21st to the 27th, 2023. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Council reports. We'll start with Member Yeager.
Well, I went on the road tour, Monday's road tour, and I went to the work session prior to this meeting, so thank you all for coming, and thank you all for watching.
Okay. Member Schilling?
I attended the work session prior to this meeting, and thanks to those that have showed up and commented, and anybody watching, have a great night.
Member Onstad?
I went on the road tour last week to see all the damaged roads that we have in the city.
We have some that aren't, though.
Yeah, we have some nice roads.
We do.
And hopefully one day we'll have them all looking nice.
Yeah, agreed.
I went to the Park Advisory Committee meeting last night, the work session before this, and that's it. Thanks for everybody coming out. Thanks for watching at home.
Great. And Member Luker?
I also attended the road tour as well as the work session prior to this meeting. That's all I have. Thanks for attending and for watching.
All right. And I also attended the road tour, the work session. Otherwise, it's been a pretty quiet couple of weeks for me. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I appreciate your time and coming up. And we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. With that, I will need a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait, before we do that, planting of the trees again. Let's just make sure we have the right date.
Yep, so as of right now, it's gonna be this Saturday, at Centennial Park, 10 to noon. I think we're planting six trees. We'll be out with Public Works, and then there's a Girl Scout troop that's gonna be participating as well. So they'll be out there, and then of course, anybody from the public's more than welcome to come and help us plant. If for some reason it's downpouring, we'll look to probably move it to that next Saturday, but as of right now, it looks like just some sprinkles, so we'll be doing it
Okay,
10 to noon
great.
at Centennial.
Perfect. I didn't want to forget that. So, and do we have the bike rodeo coming up? What's the date of that?
It would be May 20th.
May 20th. Okay. Didn't want to forget that either. Okay. All right. So with that, we need a motion to adjourn. I made the first. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.